Welcome to Basic Brewing Radio for Thursday, January 19th, 2017. I'm James Spencer. Here at Basic Brewing Radio, we're all about home brewing. This week we catch up with Gary Glass, director of the American Homebrewers Association, to talk about the state of our hobby, the upcoming entry deadlines for the National Homebrew Competition, and new events at this year's HomebrewCon in Minneapolis. If you're new to homebrewing and would like to get into the hobby for the first time, check out our website, basicbrewing.com, where you can find archives of our audio and video podcasts and our DVDs to walk you through basic and more advanced brewing techniques. And if you buy any of our DVD combos, you get a free basic brewing bottle opener. And don't forget to get a copy of our brewer's logbook. You can use it to log and track up to 50 batches of beer. You can follow me on Twitter. My username is Basic Brewing, all one word. We also have a Basic Brewing Radio and Basic Brewing Video page on Facebook at facebook.com/basicbrewing. Thanks again to everybody clicking on the Amazon.com associate link on our basicbrewing.com site. Whenever you think of Amazon, think of us first and click on our associate link. It won't cost you any extra, and you'll be helping us to bring you the show, and we greatly appreciate your support. We also have associate links for Brew Your Own magazine and the American Homebrewers Association on our site, basicbrewing.com. You can find our Basic Brewing iPhone app on iTunes, our Android app on Amazon.com. We have a Windows Phone app. We're on the BlackBerry Podcast Directory, and we're on the Stitcher app as well. And we're also on Google Play Music and the iHeartRadio app. If you want to put a tip in our tip jar, some coinage in our virtual guitar case, you can go to basicbrewing.com/support. Thanks to everybody who's done so already. Well, let's jump right into the mailbag, shall we? Greg from Canada writes, back in August, I brewed a simple stout. I'm not all too caught up with style guidelines and names, but I think it would be considered a foreign export under the BJCP guidelines. I've made this recipe before with excellent results. Well, this time I soured a portion of wort, half a quart, to add back to the fermenting beer. As I've read on Homebrew Talk, and I believe Brew Your Own, that this can be a method used to get a slight sour Guinness-like twang. I soured it by adding a few kernels of malted two-row to the separated half a quart to allow the microbes to sour it. After souring the portion for several days, I boiled it to pasteurize it and added it to the primary fermentation. Greg says on bottling day, I batch primed the whole 5 gallons and bottle as I normally do. Several months later, I have about half the bottles that are almost completely flat. The other half are extremely over-carbonated. I opened one this evening, and it was a geyser. It literally took off like a rocket ship. I don't think the souring portion continued to ferment non-fermentable sugars in the bottle since I boiled it. My other thought is that perhaps I didn't mix the priming sugar in well enough. Have you ever heard of gushers from improperly mixed priming sugar? I'm kind of scratching my head here. I'm 2 years of brewing. This is my first for this kind of thing. Well, Greg, I got to think you're on the right track and thinking something went haywire with the priming in some way. You boiled the souring portion, so that should have killed any microbes. Plus, if those microbes were at fault, they would have affected the whole batch in the same way when you poured that soured portion into the fermenter. So maybe you might not have mixed in your priming sugar in well enough with the bottling bucket. Maybe it didn't dissolve completely. When I batch sparge, I usually boil my priming sugar in a bit of beer to sanitize it for like 10 minutes and then stir it into the bottling bucket as I'm racking the beer in, and then I stir afterwards to make sure. If it was improperly mixed priming sugar, I'd expect there to be a few Goldilocks beers that were primed just right, just in the middle of the concentration there. Another thing to look into is whether the bottles were divided and stored at different temperatures during bottle conditioning. If some were too cold, the yeast might have gone dormant, and then, those would be the flat ones. But then you'd expect the warmer bottles to be perfectly carbonated instead of over-carbonated if the proper amount of priming sugar was added into the bucket. So what do you think? What do you guys think? Drop me a line if you've had a similar experience with this kind of thing. It seems like we've talked about something like this way in the past, 400 or so episodes ago. It's been a long time. So drop me a line if you have any thoughts, and I'll share your note with Greg of Canada. Yesterday, I racked my Belgian-inspired ale that I brewed with sorghum, the molassesy stuff and not the sorghum grain. I usually don't rack into secondary, but this White Labs WLP 500 yeast, in my experience, tends not to be in a hurry to flocculate, or to settle out. After I racked it, just a few hours later, there was evidence that flocculation had begun. So I posted a picture of that on our Facebook page. And Eric, on that post, commented that he's a fan of gelatin. And in hindsight, I probably should have added some gelatin when I racked, but I was kind of in a hurry and I wasn't thinking straight, I guess. I don't know, but I still might add some gelatin if I'm impatient, depending on how the progress of that thing goes. The beer started out at 1075, and it's at 1012 now. That's an ABV of 8.4%, and it is a very tasty beer. Just a hint of that sorghum flavor, which may become more apparent when the yeast falls out completely. And I'm really looking forward to that one. It's a dangerously drinkable beer. Let's talk about our sponsors, Desiree and Dave from High Gravity in Tulsa. They're being forced to move out of their current space, but the good news is that they found another bigger space nearby. In addition to more retail floor space, they're going to add a tasting room, which is cool because they're going to start brewing and selling beer at the store. So they're going to be a brewery as well as a winery. Lots of good news there for the High Gravity folks. Moving and renovating is expensive, though, and High Gravity has started a GoFundMe campaign to cover some of the costs. They're more than halfway to their goal, and they have lots of fun incentives in exchange for your help, including deals on ingredient kits and such as that. You can even get an ingredient kit named after you if you contribute the right amount. In the meantime, while they're getting ready for the move, they're still selling awesome electric controllers and brewing systems, and you can see demo videos at their YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/highdgravitybrew. And you can also on that channel see a video that Desiree took a couple weeks ago of the new space, and they were doing demolition at that point. So you can also see all of their awesome electric brewing systems and controllers at highdgravitybrew.com. Okay, as you know, the American Homebrewers Association is also a sponsor of this program, this podcast. The folks at the AHA have done a lot to promote and improve our hobby for a good long time. And I like to talk with Gary Glass every now and then to get an update on the state of homebrewing and to get some good information on the upcoming AHA events. Gary Glass, welcome back to Basic Brewing Radio.
Yeah, thanks, James. Glad to be on.
It's been a long time since we've talked on the show. It's good to have you back.
Yeah, always great to be on. So excited to be with you today.
Yeah, especially since homebrew is in such decline. We're got to do what we can to prop up our beloved hobby, right?
Well, yeah. So some of the naysayers may think that. I'm not so inclined to agree.
I'm referring jokingly to the wave of online pieces that started with the Forbes article. That talked about homebrew being in decline, and people can buy delicious craft beer nowadays, and so they don't have to make it at home, and so now they're not. So maybe I'm characterizing the article unfairly, but what's your take on all that?
Well, my take is that it's false. I think that there is some elements of truth to some of these things, but primarily what we're seeing as an issue, at least at the retail level, which is the American Homebrewers Association, we survey homebrew supply shops every year, and we're in the process of doing that for 2016 numbers. The retailers have seen declines in sales. Now, I think that where the majority of that's coming, and part of our surveys show this, is that people are brewing less frequently. And that's not terribly surprising to me when you do have new breweries opening up in every neighborhood, and homebrewers are going to be the biggest supporters of their local brewery. They're probably not going to drink more simply because a new brewery opens up. So the result may be they're brewing less frequently or brewing in smaller batches, and both of those things are happening. And so there are those results at retail, but right now I would say there's more homebrewers than there's ever been in the United States. And our surveys indicate that the interest level in the hobby is as high or higher than it's ever been. We did a recent survey that indicated that 2 out of 5 craft beer drinkers are seriously interested in getting into homebrewing. That amounts to about 19 million people in the United States. So,
wow.
When somebody suggests that homebrewing is in decline, I just have to shake my head and no, you're you're incorrect about that. There is change happening, but that does not mean that homebrewing is in decline.
Yeah, and if you look at the numbers of listeners to this podcast, I mean those aren't declining. So I think that the core of homebrewers is still strong. Homebrewing has evolved in the 20 years that I've been doing it. I mean, back in my day, it was all about extract and all grain was this mysterious technique that was akin to learning chemistry, and it took an advanced brewer to learn how to do it. And I think nowadays, Steve Wilkes recently opened his own homebrew shop, and he says he just sells a ton of grain. He mills a lot of grain and sells a lot of grain, and in addition to that, I was in the shop a couple weeks ago. And a young woman came in, and a young woman came in wanting to brew beer, which is another trend. And she had recipes for 2 1-gallon batches, so we were measuring out specialty grain, 1.3 ounces of this and, 2.5 ounces of that. So it is a different world.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's certainly a different world, and it's a better world than that one that you and I started in when everybody was brewing with extracts that probably had sat on the shelf for too long and were probably oxidized and dark and making cidery beer. The quality of ingredients, the variety of ingredients, the variety of equipment that's available to homebrewers today is vastly better than it's ever been. So really, there's never been a better time to be a homebrewer.
Yeah, and with the amount of information that's out there on the internet in various forms, and it's evolving very quickly because homebrewers are getting out there and sharing techniques and doing things differently and questioning sort of the old ways, the old kind of homebrew laws of you got to do things this way, you got to do things that way.
Right. Yeah.
So it's amazing. How kind of nimble the hobby is in sort of taking on new styles and new ingredients and new techniques, and it's just incredible the amount of the wealth of information that's out there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and like I said, it's ultimately the best time to be a homebrewer, better than any previous time, and homebrewers are making great beer and they're succeeding at it, and that's why we have over 5,000 breweries in this country now.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks to home brewing, the craft beer scene is amazing. So now that we've dispelled that, let's talk about the National Homebrew Competition. The entry window is coming up, is it not?
Right. Yeah. So the period, the time to register yourself as an entrant is coming up January 30th through February 5th. So that's obviously coming up very rapidly. The way we run the competition, we have people apply, and you do have to be a member of the American Homebrewers Association to enter the competition. So that's the period in which people can sign up, indicating they want to participate in the competition. let us know which of the 12 judge centers they're interested in submitting their entries to, and then how many entries they want to enter. And then from there, we take those numbers and determine place people into judge centers, and then and determine how many entries per entrant we can handle for the competition.
Is there a strategy to picking out which center you want to apply to?
Most definitely. So our two most popular judge centers are New York City and Philadelphia. I mean, the highest population density area of the country. So anyone who's entering in either of those two, I would suggest also selecting an alternate judge center that is not one of those two. That certainly improves your chances of getting in. We're able to accommodate. We have been able to accommodate. I think we got everybody in last year, but certainly if you're in one of those two judge centers, you're better off, and really anywhere. Selecting multiple judge centers is the best way to ensure you get your entries in.
Now, will everybody have the same number of beers that they are able to enter at the end of it? Remind me how this works.
Yes. So we'll have a universal entry cap. So you're not required to enter that many. Last year we had I think 6 entries per entrant was our maximum. I would anticipate it'll be similar. It depends on how many people register during that initial registration period. But yeah, I would expect it'll probably be around 5 or 6, which is how it's been for the last 3 or 4 years.
It's a decent amount of beers to be judged.
Right. Yeah, and we want, as I said, we try and since everybody who's entering is a member of the American Homebrewers Association, we do as much as we can to make sure that everybody who is interested in the competition can get their entries in.
How many beers were judged last year?
Just under 8,000. The National Homebrew Competition is the world's largest beer competition. Bigger than the Great American Beer Festival, bigger than the World Beer Cup, and any other competitions out there. So, it really is an opportunity for glory, because if you win a medal at National Homebrew Competition, you've outcompeted so many other entries. It's incredibly difficult to do, but for those who have achieved it, they know that they're one of the top brewers in the country.
So what's the toughest categories?
IPA tends to be the most entered category. We are splitting up a couple of the categories, including the IPA, so we're splitting out the double IPAs from the IPA category. And then I think stout is the next biggest.
And then what's the one if you wanted better odds? What are the least entered categories?
Oh gosh, I'm not positive on this but probably the light American lager categories.
Why did I not think of that?
Actually, the mead and cider categories have had lower entry numbers than the others. So those are good categories to enter. Of course, the people who win are really outstanding mead makers. So it doesn't mean it's easy to win. It just means that there are fewer entries in those categories.
And in the light American lager category is not an easy beer to brew.
No. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, not only there's a reason why people aren't. Well, I mean, those aren't usually the beers that people get started into homebrewing wanting to brew. But they're also they're basically the most challenging beers to make. So you can't hide any flaws, and with any competition, your entries are transported outside of your home and have to be sit around waiting for the competition to happen. So your process has to be really outstanding in order for those beers to shine when the judges get them.
Right. I'm reading the website at homebrewersassociation.org, along with double IPA being a new category, specialty IPA. What would be a specialty IPA?
That would be like your white IPA or black IPA or maybe Cascadian Dark or
maybe a coffee
American
IPA
Black Ale or whatever you want to call that category. Belgian IPA. So the BJSP has a series of possible specialty IPAs that can be entered, and so that's. And of course, the sky's the limit in terms of what you want to throw a bunch of hops into. So, those are being split out. Another new category for this year is American Wild Ale is being pulled out of the specialty category because that is the single biggest category. I think after IPA, but within that specialty category, it was certainly the American Wild Ales was the biggest subcategory of those entries. It's
amazing how quickly that group of beers has come around.
Right. Yeah. I mean, talk about going from 0 to 60 like a Ferrari. That's the category in question there. And, which is great to see, though. I mean, it's in judging a lot of competitions. I just judged some American Wild Ales this past weekend. It used to be that sour ale categories were, pretty hit or miss, and now the quality of the sours that homebrewers are producing are really outstanding. So it's not only become very popular. The homebrewers who are doing it well.
And that's, again, I think, largely thanks to, in addition to Mike Tonsmeyer's book and his website, these groups out there like Milk the Funk and, all these all these groups that are getting together and trading information. If you want to know how to brew a kettle-soured wild or kettle-soured beer with the probiotics, there's a ton of stuff out there.
Yeah.
So what else should they know about the National Homebrew Competition before they enter?
They do need to be, as I've mentioned, you have to be a member, and it's also a good idea to check your membership status, to make sure that we've got your current contact information correct, particularly email address, because almost all the communication goes by email, and then making sure that you haven't blocked our emails for whatever reason. So we've gotten a newsletter from one of our partner organizations. Well, the American Homebrewers Association is part of the Brewers Association, and so AHA members also get newsletters from our craftbeer.com affiliates. So if you've ever said unsubscribe to one of those, there's a possibility that you're not getting our email. So that's something that highly recommend. Check out, make sure that you're getting our emails before getting registered. That'll smooth things out. Also, we do have a couple of judge centers that moved. We moved the judge center that was in Nashville the last couple of years to Tampa, Florida, and then the Minneapolis Judge Center, since we've got HomebrewCon going to Minneapolis this year, the first round site is moving to Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yeah, and if people want to get involved in judging, is there room?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We definitely are going to need judges for all the judge centers, and so that the application period for signing up to be a judge, I do believe we'll start after February 5th, once we've got the entrant or registration process start. Actually, no, you can sign up at that time. So starting January 30th, I think, is when people would be able to start selecting to be a judge.
Cool. You mentioned it. You mentioned HomebrewCon coming up in Minneapolis, and we've been there before, and it was a lot of fun. So tell us about
every year since 2006, right?
Yeah, that's right. Good memory, Gary. But I mean, we've been to the conference every year. It's always fun. But Minneapolis, we've been there.
Right.
With the conference.
Yeah. So last time we were at Minneapolis was 2010, and actually we were in Bloomington, Minnesota, just a little bit south of Minneapolis. Bloomington's also home to Mall of America, but we are very excited to be right in downtown Minneapolis with this year's HomebrewCon. We'll be at the Minneapolis Convention Center, and I'm really pumped for this conference. Excited to be going back to Minnesota. Our last time there, we set a new record for attendance, and hoping we do so again this year.
And what's the goal? I mean, what are your expectations? How many folks do you expect?
Oh, I'm expecting we'll get close to 3,000. But obviously, if we with being at a convention center. Does give us the opportunity to expand, so we could have up to 4,000 people there.
Gosh. And for those who've been living in a cave and don't know about the conference, there's tons of stuff to do and tons of stuff to learn and tons of people to meet. And what are the highlights?
The highlights are clearly being able to get together with all these other homebrewers. One of the beautiful things about homebrewing and what makes my job so great is that homebrewers are such friendly, open, sharing people, so that, if you come to HomebrewCon, you're going to make friends that you will see year after year at HomebrewCon, because meet people from all over the country, all over the world, actually, come to this event year after year. That's certainly a highlight, but, by far the best part of HomebrewCon is club night.
Mm-hmm.
So that takes place on the Friday night of the conference. The conference goes from June 15th through the 17th. That's June 16th is that Friday. That night we'll have 80 plus homebrew clubs from all over the country. We've had clubs from Canada as well, and I know we've got other contingents from outside of North America even that are looking to set up booths. So, but the clubs go all out. They decorate their booths in themes appropriate for their particular club, get dressed up, and bring out the most eclectic selection of beer you are going to find under any one roof anywhere, guaranteed.
Yeah. It's very inspiring.
If
there's a style of beer that you've never had that you want to try, it's probably going to be there. It's
going to be there, and there's going to be stuff that you wouldn't have even imagined, or that just sounds absolutely terrible that some homebrewer has pulled off, and it's like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I've tried many styles for the first time at these things, and come away, like I say, I come away inspired and with new tips and tricks and kind of re-energized to go back and brew something new. Last year, the club night was so big. I don't think I made it around to the whole floor. It was huge.
Yeah. It's going to be at least as big, probably bigger next year. This year. We're in 2017 now.
That's right. We've crossed the line. Well, that's very exciting. Now, what are the mechanics of signing up for the conference?
So the conference registration opens March 7th, and we don't have to do a lottery with that. So it's just first come, first serve. We do have some changes to the way registration works. We're actually changing up the format for the awards ceremony. We're moving away from doing a banquet with the awards ceremony. Pulling off a banquet with 1,000+ people is extraordinarily challenging and really dependent on the venue you're in as to whether it works or not, and it's a massive expense too. So we're having to charge for an extra ticket. The banquet seating also limits the capacity, so not everybody gets to go to the awards ceremony. So we decided let's change the format. We're going to do it in an auditorium. anybody at the conference can go to the awards ceremony. There's no extra fee to attend. And it'll be an auditorium setting, so the audio-visual experience will be improved. And I think we'll be able to, I'm excited that we can bring in more people to the awards ceremony, and I think it's going to be an overall better experience.
Cool.
And then coming off of that, we're going to go right in, so that'll take place Saturday afternoon. And then we'll go right into a brand new event, kind of a send-off party, final name to be determined. But we'll have beer, commercial beer, and homebrew. We'll have snacks and then entertainment happening, and we'll do raffle. And some of the announcements, like the Lallemand Scholarship Award announcement, and a few other things. But here again, it's we in the past years we've used the banquet, the awards banquet, as the final event, and less than half of the people who attended the conference attended that event, and so it was, it wasn't necessarily like the send off that we would really like to have for the attendees. And so this is an opportunity, last chance for everybody to get together in a very fun environment. So we're excited to change things up for this year, and I think it's going to be an overall better experience for the attendees.
Yeah, I like that. I like that idea. It opens it up and it includes more people, and I think that I'm looking forward to that. It sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah.
I mean, it'll definitely be a lot of fun. And then after that, I know we've got the local committee working on events taking place that Saturday night, but also throughout the conference, and particularly pre-conference events. There's a couple of tour groups that are in Minneapolis that are setting up brewery tours, so that there's going to be all kinds of things to do around the conference in addition to the conference itself. And Minneapolis has just come so far in terms, like everywhere in the country, but particularly I think there's some new breweries that have opened up since we were last in Minnesota that are definitely must-see locations. And from what I've been told, we're just a few blocks away from the light rail line, and what I was told was that every single light rail stop has some kind of beer destination on it. There's going to be a lot to do and see beyond just the conference for people who come out for the HomebrewCon this year.
Man, with so many craft beer destinations around a town like that, it's too bad there's not some sort of an app that you could use to navigate and find good beer in an area like that. Somebody ought to come up with something like that.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. That sounds like an idea that we had last year that we just launched. I love the way you've just put the ball right on the tee for me there, James.
It's a little softball right over the plate.
Yeah. So new for the American Homebrewers Association, something we put a lot of effort into is our Brew Guru app. And it's the app itself. There's a couple of components to it, but probably my favorite part and the part that I'm expecting is probably getting the most use is we have a map of all the breweries in the Brewers Association database in the app, and then on top of that, it also highlights all of the 1,500 plus locations that give discounts to members of the American Homebrewers Association. And then if you're near one of those locations within 100 meters, it'll actually send you a push notification, let you know that you should be saving money at that location, and then you could pull up your digital AHA membership card and it tell you right there what your discount is, and you could show it to the server, and no hassles. You can record how many times you're using those member deals, but it's a great tool. Just the part about being able to find local breweries is a pretty awesome part, but then you get to save money. And then the whole other side of it is we've got all this content that we've curated from Zymergy Magazine, we've got HomebrewCon seminars, we've got homebrewersassociation.org features, recipes, all kinds of content that are built into collections that just make it really easy to find the information that you're most interested in. So I'm tremendously proud of it, and we hope that people find it, or particularly members of the American Homebrewers Association, find it useful. For those who are not members, it has a built-in trial, so the app is free. Anybody can download it. You get a 15-day free trial of membership if you're not already a member. So you can try it out. You can get the member deals. You can get access to Zymurgy magazine dating back to the year 2000 via eZymurgy and digital app through that trial membership. So you get to test it out. But we're so confident that you're going to like what you see that you're going to become a member. So
cool. Pero no hablo inglés. That's Spanish 1 and 2 in high school and Spanish 1 and 2 in college. That's what I got out of that.
Yeah, that was good. Pronunciation could use some work.
No puedo recordar. Mi vocabulario es muy malo.
Sí. Yo también.
That's another.
That's alluding to.
That's a more awkward segue into another interesting thing that you're branching out as far as the if not printed word, but Zymurgy.
Right. So this year, starting with our January-February issue of Zymurgy magazine, which we publish for members of the American Homebrewers Association, we're going to publish all of that content online on the homebrewersassociation.org website as members-only content in Spanish. Over the last several years, we've noticed that homebrewing is just exploding throughout Latin America. And there's just a real dearth of information in Spanish. So to date, most of the people who are getting into homebrewing in Latin America are having to depend on English language sources, which obviously poses a challenge for those who don't speak English as well as a native speaker. So we are going to be providing that content in all that Zymurgy content in Spanish going forward.
That's incredible. It is not it's not an easy task. I mean, I was telling you before the recording that I was managing editor of a company publication, which came out I think every other month, and it was a magazine that had to be translated into Spanish as well as English. Well, it didn't have to be translated in English. It was written in English, but it had to be translated into Spanish. And number one, Spanish on the printed page takes up a lot more room than English does. And there are certain challenges in translating terminology. And so you guys are going to have your hands full in making sure that this content literally translates well. So I applaud your efforts.
Yeah, certainly those are both significant challenges. The space-wise means that we will be sticking to digital publication of the content, at least initially, and then the terminology is definitely a challenging piece. So we'll be working with a professional company to translate our content, but we'll also be working with homebrewers who speak both English and Spanish to make sure that we've got all the terms right. A lot of terms just don't translate, so the Spanish speakers use the English terms, or they're German terms that we don't translate into English, and they don't translate into Spanish. So figuring that all out, it's certainly going to take some time, and I'm sure we'll have some kinks to begin with, but I think that we'll be able to quickly get it up to speed and have quality content in Spanish language going to offer to those native Spanish speakers.
You know, sparging and lautering will probably still be sparging and lautering.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I have had some travels in South America, and certain things that probably could be translated, like pale ale, aren't.
Mm.
Yeah, we're excited to be offering Zymergy magazine to a whole new audience.
Well, excellent. If I weren't afraid of offending someone, I'd come up with another Spanish phrase, but no puedo.
yeah, I know. I need to work on my own. I spent 4 years in high school studying Spanish, and 2 months in Paraguay when I was 17, and yeah, it's pretty much all gone.
Just one quick anecdote. I went out to eat lunch with someone who's a native speaker, and I ate some salsa that was very hot, and I said, "Mi lengua es muy caliente," which translates literally to "my tongue is hot," but.
Yeah.
She said, "Oh, you don't want to say that." Because what you're saying is, my tongue is hot.
Which is probably what you actually meant anyway. But, knowing you, James.
That's right. Pseudo-Latin lover that I am. All right, Gary. Well, this has been a lot of fun and very informative, and I appreciate your taking time out, and I look forward to seeing you in June. Yeah,
I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you as well, and the conference is always a great time, so very, very much looking forward to it, and I appreciate the time. I always love being on the show.
Thanks, Gary.
Yeah, thanks, James.
Well, thanks again to Gary. Gary gets extra credit for this interview because he was playing sick. He was working through a miserable cold, and so felt sorry for him. But he did good. He did well despite being puny, as we say here in the South. Check out homebrewersassociation.org to find out all the details about the National Homebrew Competition and HomebrewCon. And good luck to everybody entering the competition. And I hope to see you in June. And maybe we'll see you walk across the stage and get a medal from Charlie Papazian himself. In the meantime, if you have brewing questions, show suggestions, or just want to say howdy, write to James at basicbrewing.com. Or just fill out the contact form on basicbrewing.com. And please don't forget to tell us where you're from. Check out our support link where you can throw a couple of bucks into the tip jar by subscribing financially to our podcasts. Be sure to check out our DVDs, Extract Brewing and Partial Mashing, Stepping into All Grain, Low-Tech Lagering and Decoction Mashing, and Introduction to Wine Kits. You can find them all on our site. You can get a free Basic Brewing bottle opener with any DVD combo, and you can check out our Basic Brewing shirts in the store as well. You can find our logbooks, where you can track and log up to 50 batches of beer. Check all that out at basicbrewingshop.com. And thanks to everybody who's continued to click on our Amazon.com link. We appreciate the support there. Our featured products this week that were purchased through the link are Bayer Advantage 2 Topical Flea Control, over 9 pounds. I hope the dogs are over 9 pounds and not the fleas. And Hawk Burnisher Tool Steel Rod, 3/8 inch by 6 inches. Thanks again, everybody. Remember, I can't tell who bought what, so no worries there. Just click on the Amazon.com logo on our site the next time you feel like Amazon shopping. We greatly appreciate your support. And don't forget you can also join the American Homebrewers Association and subscribe to Brew Your Own magazine through the associate links on basicbrewing.com. That's all until next time. Until then, thanks for listening, everybody. I'm James Spencer, production out for Basic Brewing Radio, and our website is provided by Kelly Dotson. Basic Brewing Radio is a production of Active Voice, and we'll talk to you next time, everybody. So long.